3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Super Bet Bros, guys. My name is, as always, Patrick, and I'm joined by
Josh.
And we had a pretty good week last week. I went 5-3. Josh, I think you went
4-2.
Yeah, man. We're starting to make some money. You guys paying attention already? I would be. I wouldn't be. But I think my worst bet last week is I had the Bucks and the Commanders. I took the over, and as we know, that game was, well, it was probably the most exciting game out of the playoffs, but I don't think a lot of people saw the low-scoring game that it actually turned out to be. If that doink wouldn't have happened and it would have gone to overtime, then it would have had a really good chance to hit the over. But unfortunately, that was probably my worst bet. And my best bet was I put a lot more than just the one unit on it, but I had Michigan plus 2.5 going on the road to UCLA, and we all know how that game went.
Yeah, and for me, worst bet, got to be Gunnar Helm. Took him on the over at 44.5. He goes for 42 yards. It's just one of those that you're this close and you can feel it, and it just doesn't get there. Best bet, I'm going to go with Notre Dame money line. It was a slugfest, like I said, really low scoring, kind of gruely game. Notre Dame comes out on top. I had that feeling.
Yeah. We're able to gain over a unit for my bets, and I know Josh winning with those parlays, stacking some cash. And that brings us to our sponsor, NutriStack. They help athletes compare and contrast all sorts of different fitness brands, apps, pre-workouts, everything that you need to know so you get the best bang for your buck. And let's continue to NutriStack some cash as we go into our main bets of the week. Josh, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can go for it. Starting off, got the Lions gear on.
Yes,
We're going with 3 different bets that you can go with on one guy, and I believe at most places you can same game parlay this if you want, or you can go with them individually. All of them going with Jahmyr Gibbs. I know David Montgomery's coming back this week. We don't know the extent he's going to be back, though. He's coming off a tear in that knee, didn't need surgery, but I still think Gibbs is going to be the main back, the bell cow back. Washington coming in is 27th in the league in rush defense, or in rush yards allowed, I should say. Gibbs is going to feast. So I have Gibbs going for anytime touchdown. I have him being the highest rusher in the entire game. That goes both ways. And then also going over 100 total yards. Last time he went under, I believe, was December 5th, and even then he went for 73. So yeah. I'm thinking safe bet, Gibbs to have a really good game. Any way you want to look at it, there's 3 that I really liked. I'm also going to go with Bills at plus 1.5. I know you're going to touch on this a little bit later, so I'm not going to steal your thunder on that one. And then finally, Saquon Barkley over 111.5 yards. This one's a no-brainer. I know the Rams had a great week last week shutting down the run against Minnesota, but that was a banged-up offensive line. And Saquon Barkley played the Rams earlier in the year. He went for, I believe, 255 on the ground, 302 total. 111 seems like a ridiculously low line in my eyes, so I'm jumping all over that.
I love those picks. I love David Montgomery, but I could unfortunately see him coming back for like 1 or 2 plays, being like, Coach, I don't think I can go. I think that Gibbs, even if Montgomery comes back and he's healthy and he can play, if they're winning the game, what is the point of maybe risking injury for Montgomery? Gibbs is still going to be, like you said, the bell cow back. I think it's very safe that he'll get over 100 yards. Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, they want to run the football, establish that run, give Jared Goff room to be able to make those throws, build off of that run game. And, I mean, going back to Saquon as well, I think he's easily going to have over 110 yards. I can't believe the line was that low. I allowed you to take that one. I got some different bets. And starting off, we'll cut. I'll cut back into it. Sorry, that was bad.
No, you're good.
Starting off, I'm taking the Texas plus 8.5. 60% of the bets are for Kansas City, but only 55% of the money. The Sharps think that 8.5 points is too much in the NFL. These guys get paid to play professional football too, and also you get caught in that trap that I'm going to get caught into, that the Texans have playoff experience. They've won a playoff game, therefore they're better than KC. But Kansas City's 15-1. I mean, I know they're 15-2, but like realistically, that was a Carson Wentz game.
Yes,
They would have won that game if they tried. They're in their position for a reason. They deserved it, regardless of what you can say. All those one-score games, they still won it. That's why I don't think the Texans might win. But 8.5 points, man, is a lot. I think they cover that. Then, moving into the Lions, going with Jared Goff and C.J. Stroud over 175 and 200 passing yards, respectively. Not touching with an anytime touchdown parlay, but I am going to put the Lions money line on that. And then also Amon-Ra over 40 yards. You're getting plus odds here. I think it comes out to around 163. So when Lions money line is minus 500, and you can add some things in there that you are hit in almost every single game unless something goes crazy, it just allows you to take that money line and get it plus odds, which for me, I'm going to hit all day of the week. Sometimes they don't work out, but I've done very well this year on those Lions parlays. I think I've only lost a couple of them, pretty up on the season. And then I think that the Rams plus 6.5, I just, they really showed a lot going against Minnesota, which is a very good team. They make Darnold look confused, which is something that only the Lions have really done this year. I think Matt Stafford has that playoff Super Bowl experience. 6.5 points in the playoffs, anything over 4 to me is just a lot. These playoff games, it's either so close or they're going to be a blowout, and I'll be completely wrong. But I'm comfortable taking the Rams plus 6.5, and also going with the underdogs here. It seems like that's our way that we're moving this week. Like you mentioned, Bills 1.5. Playoff Lamar doesn't have it. It's the Bills year. I think it's going to be a Lions-Bills Super Bowl. That's what I'm taking. Bills 1.5. I mean, I really think if Bills underdog here at home, when are the Bills an underdog at home? It just doesn't happen. Plus 1.5, I think they take that. And we're going to touch on the national championship game and our main bet of the week, but just know that my parlay for the game, Notre Dame plus 8.5 and Jeremiah Smith anytime touchdown. Then our last two bets for me, Carolina and Buffalo, and Edmonton and Minnesota, respectively. Their games are at 5.5 for the over-under in the NHL. And you know what we do when we see 5.5? We hit the over, because life's too short to bet the under, boys. And then we can, yeah.
What do you want to talk about on the championship game?
I think we could go into the fact that the betting percentages here.
Okay.
Like we could just talk through like this screen here, and then I can honestly just leave this up on it,
Okay.
like as we talk, and then. All right, Josh. We probably have our Michigan friends and families, our worst nightmare in terms of a national championship. OSU and Notre Dame. Take me through it.
Well, for me personally, I can kind of take some solace in this. My dad grew up a massive Notre Dame fan. He still is a Notre Dame fan, so I can at least have that going for me. I can root for my dad's team here as much as I don't
get some
necessarily
father-son
want
bonding
to.
a little bit, you know.
Just take something out of it. If
Yeah.
Notre Dame wins, at least my dad will be happy. But we're looking at a game that, to Vegas, is already looking like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. We're looking at that line of 8.5, or depending on where you get it, 8.5, 8. And the bet percentages people are taking is pretty split. 48% of the bets are on Ohio State to cover -8, 52 to Notre Dame. But when you look at the actual money, the percentage, the sharp money is following Notre Dame to cover that 8.5. People legitimately, 91% of the money is on Ohio State to win the money line, but people think it's going to be a very close national championship game. Is that something you can see? I mean, I know we have two really high-powered offenses, but can the Notre Dame defense keep a lid on Jeremiah Smith and those electric wide receivers? I think that's going to be what the game comes down to.
I think they have the ability to. They have a really good defense, and they've shown it throughout this playoff. They haven't played necessarily teams that are always going to dominate, especially against bigger opponents in Penn State and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the struggles those teams have had against good defenses. But that being said, I think Notre Dame can keep this close, and I think it backtracks into what you were talking about with your NFL bets. There's certain lines in big games that just feel like too much. When it comes to a national championship, there's so much on the line, so much emotion that teams can even outperform where they're at. And I think Notre Dame's going to be able to do that and keep it close. Look at the last game, Ohio State, Texas. It was a 21-14 game, and Texas was at the 1 yard line. They botched it. They went backwards 6 yards on a second down run, and then they get strip sacked for a touchdown to seal it. They had every ability to tie that game and potentially force overtime.
Yeah, what do we say? Sarkisian is the James Franklin of the SEC.
He definitely has his moments where the play calling is questionable, but I think if Notre Dame can keep Ohio State in check, and I think I said this last week with Texas, if you can keep Ohio State in check and keep what happened in the Tennessee and Oregon games off the table, where they come out explosive and really put you in a hole, that's where you want to be. Yeah. Because then you can make it about one possession at the end of the game, and I think that's what Notre Dame's game plan is going to be.
I think we're in for an exciting national championship. The last 2 years, TCU, Georgia, felt like, Michigan really should have beat TCU and it would have been more of a game. TCU kind of got in there. Georgia destroyed them. Last year, the national championship really was between Michigan and Alabama, it felt like, and everyone knew who was going to win in the national championship game. There could have been a huge upset, but we celebrated harder as Michigan fans when we beat Alabama. We kind of knew we were going to win that game. And maybe OSU fans, I know they are cocky, arrogant SOBs. Love you guys if you're watching. But I just don't feel like there's a for sure certain attitude about the winner. And, when you think of 70% of the money is following the over, I think that backs up with the percentage of people that really think Ohio State's going to win. I think Notre Dame, their key to success is kind of having a Michigan game. They have to be and I think Notre Dame can do it, and I think at the heart, that is what their program is that ground and pound physical team. And if they can force Ohio State into that, they might have a chance. But if it becomes an offensive slugfest, Ohio State is just too talented.
Yeah, I think if you get into a shootout, there's just no way with the roster Notre Dame has set up that they can compete with Ohio State's roster. The wide receivers, I think it's a big gap. I think Notre Dame's secondary is very good and has a chance to subdue some of these guys. We saw Jeremiah Smith go for 3 yards in this past game. That's going to be your key to success as a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cut. And then, do we want to, let's shit on each other for, I have no idea what to I guess, it could be funny, but, I have nothing,
I don't think there's enough that's happened yet.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have enough track record to be the only thing is I would be we fucking commentated a game for three viewers.
If you want to hear 4 people talk over each other the entire night, tune into the live stream. Well, we could shout that out. We could say.
Yeah, no, we should shout out the live stream, and then if we're doing that for the Natty, and then listen to the main podcast, follow the socials, and that makes sense. How about I'll do a little podcast shout out and a little socials, and then do you want to say? Also, make sure you're following our social media as we get out of football season. We'll be making short form content so you can follow along with our bets, always for free.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that. Because I'll kick it to you, be like, and Josh, what do you got to say? And then we can sign it off after that.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all we want to say for today. I think that we got some good lines, some good bets. Again, if you guys follow along, you're an idiot. Unless you win and we win, then you're not. And just follow along with all the other socials. have the other podcasts coming out, long form content, talking through the entire sports media landscape with Pop and Evan. We'll be joining them to talk a little bit about the bets, but most of that stuff is going to stay on this podcast and our other socials that Josh is going to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, make sure you're following those. We're hoping to start getting some short form content. Based on the setup we have right now, it's going to be harder to get bets out throughout the week. So we're hoping to be able to get some of that out on the social media through short form content instead of just the pod. So make sure you're following to get those. Stay in the loop.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. See you. I feel like that was a pretty good episode,
Pretty good.
honestly.
Yeah.
And we were recording.
Oh, God.